Come on! Two, fuck 'em up, yeah!
Now that everyone's been properly terrified and y'all have now met my bodyguards, I think it's time to start, don't you, Trey?
I absolutely agree with you.
Yes. So, good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and variations thereupon. My name is Cadet Blomquist.
My name is Trey Eldridge.
And we will be your masters of ceremony for this evening.
So before we start, we would like to get the crowd involved. So we're going to show a little different ways that we can show appreciation to the respective speakers. And Sir Bloomquist here is going to help demonstrate, along with the other demonstrators as well. So we have 3 ways we'd like to show. The first one's going to be the sophisticated one. It's going to be snapping. And the next one's going to be the generic one. You know, we all know how to do this, clapping, you know, round of applause. And then the last one is a little bit of the more hype variation, the wave. So those are going to be the 3 ways we can properly show our thanks and consideration of those who have kept a lot of time into this speech.
All right, and after we have this done, y'all can go ahead and sit down. Y'all get ready, okay? We're going to be doing a lot of that.
Thank you.
Now, we're going to set some ground rules, okay? First off, y'all can use your phones as much as you want, okay? This is not a classroom anymore, especially y'all cadets. I know what y'all go through, okay? Just don't use your flash, okay? I'm very prone to, like, freaking out whenever I see bright lights, and I might go into the crowd and start screaming at people, okay?
He does that a lot.
Yeah, I'm being a little crazy. All right. Second, y'all better have fun. If I see someone frowning, looking very angry, or anything in between, I might go down. Especially you, Lopez. Put a smile on my face.
Yes, sir!
Lopez has never smiled.
I know. I've seen him smile twice. I've seen Lopez smile twice.
Oh, so close. Gosh.
You almost got it, Lopez. You'll get there tonight. All right. And third, okay, please don't talk while, you know, our lovely speakers are up here speaking their minds, all right? They work very, very hard on their lovely presentations, so, you know, treat them as if you're watching a Michael Jackson concert, all right? You can enjoy it in silence. You can maybe sing along if you want. But once they're done, you give them a loud applause, a wave, or maybe a sophisticated snap. I don't know. We'll get there whenever we get there.
Yeah, so without further ado, we'd like to present, what's his name again?
It's Maximus Arnold. All right, we got another one. His name is Chris Tau Fasal. Right?
Going to be our
Opening act.
Opening act.
Yeah, I can't remember.
Yeah. It's been a long day.
So I never used a mic before. Y'all doing good? Yes, sir.
Tonight, this is an original NMMI classic. All right, bro. is over, we just getting started. Hop in the coupe and I started. Going retarded. I'm going crazy. If you're not getting it, then you just lazy. NMMI, ACUs, I'm still looking out the fly. I be winning and I barely try. Shout out to Chris, cause that is my guy.
That was better than anything I could have done.
I agree.
Yeah, you should hear me sing. Oof. It's not good. It's not good. Yeah.
I've been in the car with him a lot, and when he sings, it's kind of like, I don't know, the last time a tree fell, you were singing, it wasn't the prettiest thing.
Yeah.
I'm just saying.
It's like an alcoholic Katy Perry concert. It's not good.
Yeah. Well, without further ado, I think we should present another special guest.
Oh yeah, our he's something big up here, right?
Yeah, three
Pointy things, right? 3 point things on the shoulder?
Yeah, something like that. Yeah, I can't count too high.
Yeah, his name's like Colonel Martinez. And he's going to be doing our Pledge of Allegiance. So if everyone can please stand. I'm looking for you communists out there.
We're doing Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you.
All right, everyone give it up for our one and only Colonel Martinez. All right, so let's begin with our little introduction, all right? So the origin of this prestigious event begins over 101 years ago. The sponsors of this oratory contest were both cadets at the New Mexico Military Institute.
For the college division, Mr. Mark K. Ruppert actually attended NMMI, and he graduated in 1918. During his graduating year, he participated in the first speech contest held in front of a large audience, as such like this.
A memorial in honor of a 1948 graduate, John Flack Burton Jr., has provided for the high school portion of this contest. Mr. Burton was killed in action in Korea on the 12th of October 1952. Mr. Burton was not only a fine American, but an honorable representative of New Mexico Military Institute and the country as well.
Through the considerations and contributions of these two men, this is why this oratory event can carry on here at this prestigious institute.
Now I think we need to take a moment to recognize our judges here. First, we have Ms. Maureen Algeen. Took me a while to say that. She is tenured communication faculty member and administrator at Eastern New Mexico University. She has received the Excellence in Teaching Award from the National Institute for Staff and Organizational Development. That is a mouthful. That's another clap. Yeah. And she's also received the NEMMU Roswell Foundation COSA Merit Award for Excellence. Ms. Algeen is also the director of the Arts and Sciences Education Unit and oversees communication and university studies areas. Something that I didn't know until just before this. Ms. Algeen has come here for 13 years to do this. I don't know what keeps bringing her back, but I think we're happy that she's here. So we're feeling happy now. Okay.
So I'm going to introduce the second judge. Dr. Jeff Ewell joined Eastern New Mexico University as the 10th president in 2017. Congratulations.
Yes, sir.
Last year he became the chancellor of the 3-campus system of Eastern New Mexico University. Prior to that, he was a dean at University of Tennessee, provost at Auburn University, Montgomery, department chair at the University of Nebraska, and Marshall University. A director at Mississippi State University, and the list goes on. Honestly, I would like to list off all of his positions, but if I did so, I'd be participating in the speech competition, and I haven't really prepared that well, so we're just going to end it off there. But he's done a lot, and he's very, very well endowed in education, and I believe he deserves some sophistication as well.
Sophistication, yeah. Very good. Okay, now, elders, now we have a very special person. I'm not sure if you're aware of this, okay? Who? It's Mayor Kintai. Yeah, it's him. Yeah, well, he may be a politician, but, you know, he's been elected twice.
That's one more than once, correct?
That's one more than once.
Okay, I just want to make sure I'm in the army.
And I know you're in the army, but I know you heard of these guys, okay? Before he was the mayor, he was an FBI agent.
That's the Men in Black people, right?
Yeah,
The fancy stuff.
Yeah, the people you know, like,
They do.
oh, come on, that didn't work.
No, seriously, who are you? Come on. No, I really don't know who you are. What did you do?
Come on, Trey.
Uh-huh.
We had speech competition.
What speech competition?
Those guys, right, those guys, yes. The flashy, I can't remember where I've been for the last 12 hours kind of people.
I don't remember where I've been for the last 12 hours.
I know. Obviously a trick he used once or twice.
No.
Obviously not. I know that.
Hello. I don't know why I'm up here, but I'm here.
Stay strong, elders, right? You'll figure it out eventually.
Hopefully.
Hopefully. Also here, then we would like to recognize, you know, excellence, you know, beyond different types of excellence that we've already recognized. The mayor was also a youth pastor. He was elected to the New Mexico House of Representatives. He was the chief of police for Roswell Police Department, a deputy sheriff, a detective. I think I got more. Yeah, I'm gonna keep going. Wow. Yeah, he's done a lot. Yeah, we're a little bit underrated.
I don't know what you're talking about,
Exactly.
but I'm just gonna assume, yeah.
Yeah, brainwaves, buddy, brainwaves. We'll work through the flashlight, okay? We got this. All right. So now that we've all gotten here, I think we need to give the mayor a nice little sophisticated, nice and happy. Yeah, good job, Dorsey. No room to point, but okay.
So now that we've concluded the portion with all the judges, once again, at the very end, we'd just like to give them a nice little round of applause for being here. And last but not least, before we begin, we would like to recognize some of the faculty members here with us.
First up, let's go for Colonel Brick. Where's Colonel Barry? He is. Everyone, Colonel Brick, easily the most educated Marine that we all know. I'm not seeing a single pronoun going to that man's mouth. We're all doing good. Oh, Dean Murray, where's he at? There he is. So, something many of you may not know about the Dean is that he's one of the few Air Force guys that actually likes things on the ground. He's a big fan of trains, and that's kind of cool, because I don't know anything about trains.
I don't really, yeah, that's actually really cool. I don't know anything about trains either.
Yeah, I mean, for an Air Force guy to not be focused on stuff in the sky, that's impressive.
Very.
Thank you, sir.
And one last person we'd like to recognize, he was the runner-up in the 2017 NMMI mustache competition. Colonel Timer out there in the back.
Hey!
So he said he wasn't important, right?
Yeah.
You're important, so.
You're important too.
Well, thank you. You know, how about you give a round of applause to Mr. Trey Eldridge up there?
I think we should all give a bigger round of applause to Sir Bloomquist, though. Okay, so now we're going to begin with the formal part of the speech competition. It's a really long passage, I'm going to have to read this. Excuse me. The Ruppert-Burton Speech Competition is a persuasive argument rhetoric presented to the NMMI audience and friends. Cadets have developed an original particular perspective that they wish to advance and support the main ideas of this oratory with credible and sufficient evidence. So they spent a lot of time and work into this. Speeches will be judged by the strength of the persuasive argument, clarity of vocalization, body language, eye contact, volume, confidence, and strong indication of research, and engaging the audience with persuasive presentation.
Alright, so the cadets this year will speak on overcoming the stereotype of an entitled generation.
What does entitled mean, Bloomquist?
You've seen, meeting the Kardashians?
Yes.
Entitled. Every single one. Little kind of uppity, like, oh my gosh, I'm so smart. I was born 20 years ago kind of thing, I know how a phone works.
I know how a phone works.
I know. You might be part of that generation, buddy. Yeah.
Okay then.
Yeah, it hurts a little bit, don't it?
Yeah, kind of. A little bit.
Broken heart.
A little. Cuts deep a little. Anyways, back to professionalism, because we're all representatives of this prestigious institute. So we're going to now start with the high school portion of this oratory.
All right, everyone. The first speaker in the high school division is going to be Cadet Vincent Carpio Torres. Yeah.
Do I start now or? Oh, I did start now. Okay. So, as most of you guys already heard my speech is on the time of generation. If you look on Google or Bing or anything, and you start typing in millennials, you're gonna find a whole list of recommendations going from millennials are entitled, millennials are selfish, millennials are lazy. I'm here to tell you, the odd thing about the entitlement generation is nothing but a myth, a lie. It's complete bull. So, with this lie, it's probably about the media. They take viral YouTube clips and then pretty much frame the whole generation on basic YouTube clips. And there's much more objective data to suggest that millennials are much more competent and amazing than people give them credit for. So, let's begin. The media, they're always focused on negative. It's very rare to see them care about things like advances in medicine or engineering or science, or about how business is booming, or how children as young as 8 years old are starting fundraisers for charity. What they do care is about things like Kardashian. And then they'll take the Kardashians and say, oh hey, this is the group of this generation. I guess the whole generation is like this. Okay, in our history, we have seen a lot worse entitlement than it is today. America before the Civil War felt entitled to own other people. Germany under Hitler felt entitled to torture Jews. Whatever problem today's generation has, it is definitely not entitlement. But these articles still insist entitlement is a major issue. They keep on standing what I like to call a two-legged stool. Very, very shaky evidence they have. The first piece of evidence would be that parents are beginning to support their children into later years. They're trying to support them through college and whatnot. And a lot of these journalists immediately jump to the conclusion that millennials are just lazy or incompetent. But they don't take the time to ask why. Why are these kids being supported this long? The reason why is that they're facing a lot of economic strain. They're going to school longer while school is getting more expensive. Housing and medical care is becoming less affordable. Social security is less reliable. And menial labor jobs are becoming taken over by automation. So they have a lot less menial part-time jobs to help support themselves. The second thing, so giving all this into account, it's just practical and smarter to support your kids through their education. The second thing they keep providing as evidence is the trend psychologists see in a rise in narcissistic personality traits. So famous well-known psychologist named Twenge, he's dead set on proving that our generation is entitled for some reason. He has a bunch of surveys and articles on how narcissism is increasing. And all this data in isolation really does seem bleak. But when you look at the whole picture, it paints something different. See, narcissism is not the only trait rising in our generation. IQ is growing. Generosity is growing. There are even studies showing that introversion is growing while extroversion is growing. The experts argue on this a lot, which means we probably don't know anything. But one of the most prominent surveys these articles show proving for entitlement they'll cite that an article, a survey based on 6th graders shows that there are this percentage more entitled than the previous generations, like say baby boomers. So they're essentially comparing the 6th graders of today's generation to the 40 and 50-year-olds of the baby boomers. Does anyone in here want their entire generation judged by how they were like in 6th grade? No, didn't think so. Didn't think so. So yeah, what's probably going on here is that this is not a generational problem, it's a developmental problem. Everyone was a baby, wasn't potty trained, threw tantrums, everyone went through middle school, was dumb, everyone went through high school and was immature. They're going to grow out of these different stages and improve through life. However, there's not more objective data showing just how awesome these millennials are. Economically speaking, they're on par a lot with the previous generations. The median household income has stayed consistent at $67. A survey for financial literacy has shown that millennials are still on par with the previous two generations. But what is especially impressive, that millennials are launching twice the number of businesses with more profit. Whatever these millennials are, they are not lazy, they are not entitled, and they're not incompetent. They're achieving many things. In spite of the media onslaught on them, there's still many people of prior generations still genuinely interested in supporting the younger generations. People like Jordan Peterson, Robert Kiyosaki, or Kevin Hart, they're always investing their money, they're investing their business into helping the younger generations. And it's really thanks to this minority who has seen through the lives of the media that our generations are improving and that future generations can be better. Thank you.
That was pretty good. I liked it. Yeah, I loved it. Oh, I almost forgot. Today's a very special day for you, isn't it, English? It is. It is. Thank you. I didn't forget. I actually have it with me. You want me to present it? Yeah. Okay. So, I don't know if you guys know this. It's a really special day for Bloomquist today. See, what I have in my hand right here is actually the ticket that he got on his car. I don't know what number it is. 5? Yeah. His 5th one. Yeah. Here you go, 5.
I'd like to thank the NMMI police officer. That ticket me this at 1:30 in the morning. And I don't want to say his name because it's just so beautiful. Can you present the next chapters?
Yeah, I can get the next one. Okay, so now our next speaker, who's coming up for the high school division, is going to be Chimani Davis.
Good evening. My name is Chimani Davis. I will be talking to you about how our generation is not as entitled as media likes to portray us. So, is our generation entitled or are we nonconformists? People say that we're entitled and lazy. Is this true? Or is it that we have more resources that are readily available to us and we use them to our advantage? So, what is the biggest reason why people think that we're entitled? Well, after talking to people from past generations, there has been one big main same idea. And that is that our generation we were born into a more technologically advanced world compared to any other generation. Some people see this as we being entitled. But is this really entitlement? Technology was made for us, for human life to be easier. It was made so our lives could be more efficient. Why are you being called entitled for using this to our advantage? So growing up, we always hear, when I was your age, we had to do this, or when I was your age, I couldn't do this. Well, because of technology, we don't have to do this. And because of technology, we can do this. there's no reason why we are being named an entitled generation because we are using the technology to our advantage. So, the media likes to say that we're entitled, lazy, and addicted to our phones. Yes, we are addicted to our phones, but there is not all bad that comes from it. Some studies have shown that people learn to connect with one another through social media. People found their voice. They learned to express their opinions through social media. Previous generations and teenagers have not been able to experience this. There have been people who also have started movements through social media. Take, for example, Emma Gonzalez, an 18-year-old who recently experienced an active shooter in her school. She's using social media to connect with people, to tell her story, to share her experience. She's trying to make a change in this world. Now, I don't know about you, but I would say that this takes a lot of courage. And entitled people wouldn't really do this. So, and laziness is not really a good word to describe a generation where most of us are not in the workforce yet. Generation Z, the people in it are from the early teenagers to the early 20s. Most of us are not fully mature yet. We have not fully grown. The society has not seen what we are really like. Why are people saying that us as kids are entitled? Well, of course we're entitled. We haven't grown yet. We haven't shown the world what our true selves are like. We haven't spread our wings and shown society what we're really capable of. However, saying this, there are teenagers who have launched their own businesses. Take, for example, 16-year-old Brandon Iverson. He started when he was just 10 years old, selling books and toys and games that he didn't use on eBay. From there, he became successful and launched NMMI, a company making money for teens that specializes in reaching out to fellow teens and teaching them what the importance of entrepreneurship is and how they can be successful in life. From there, he has traveled to schools and talked to people and talked to how they can make a difference in the world. He has also launched a book and has become so successful that he has launched his own clothing line. Now, our generation is filled with teen entrepreneurs like Brandon Iverson. Entrepreneurship is not something that should be taken lightly. It takes a lot of courage and work, hard work, to become an entrepreneur. You start at nothing with no support system, yet you become successful in the end. Our generation is filled with these people. So why are we being named an entitled generation for this? So, in conclusion, yes, our generation has pros and cons of living in this generation. There are many ways that can be used to describe a generation. However, entitlement and laziness should not be used for teenagers who have not fully matured yet. Most of us are not in the workforce. Like I said, we have not fully grown yet. They have no right to say who we are and who we're not when we're still kids. Laziness and entitlement should be used to describe a generation where most of us are in the workforce and did not produce as much as previous generations have. Calling us an entitled generation is a fallacy. It's the hasty generalization. They're determining who we are from a young age. They're saying we're entitled. Well, maybe we're not. Maybe why are you being called entitled for using technology that was meant to make our lives easier? Why are you being called lazy for when our generation is filled with teen entrepreneurs? Well, perhaps it's because we're not. Thank you.
So, I just want to point out something. In the little exchange, our mic stands got taken away. I think it's in preparation for the Army's new PT test coming out, but there's only one problem with that. I'm very, very skinny, and it requires us to lift weights, and that's not something I do. But Sir Bloomquist over here, what are you doing?
Preparing for that body drag, bro.
You realize it involves weights, right?
What's the weight?
Like heavy stuff.
This mic is heavy.
You're right, it is kind of heavy. But Sir Bloomquist is obviously in way better shape than I am, so he's going to be way better prepared for this PT test than I am.
Yeah, that's right, bro. Get in the gym.
Yeah, I'll get in the gym soon. There's a uniform for that. PTs. The athletic clothes.
Is that the red thing?
Yeah, the red uniforms. The nice, comfortable ones. I look at you weird now.
Get in the gym, bro. Get big, yo.
Okay then. Hey, I'm gonna let you burn off all this testosterone, and you can introduce the last person. I'm just gonna stand off on the side near the AC vent.
Yeah, you go ahead and hold that. It's heavy. He's gonna get his soon. All right, everybody. The third speaker in the high school division is Cadet Madison Sandoval.
Good evening, everyone. So, I'm obviously going to talk to you about why our generation isn't entitled. So, it's common for many to believe that we are. It's common for many people to believe that with the advancements that we have in technology and the growth in education, that the generation which uses it most is entitled. But this couldn't be further from the truth. My generation, more commonly known as Gen Z, uses technology as previous generations may have used stuff like the radio or cars. That was their new technology. So our new technology is phones. It's common for them to think that we have it easier than them because the technology that we have is more advanced and better. So the technology advances and the education that we have now, even though it's better, it's more advanced, so then that we can use it to our advantage. And that's what we do. That's not entitled. So I like to think that there is a small category, a group of us, that we aren't entitled. Yes, there are some of us that are lazy and are entitled. There are people who focus on the bad part of that because that's human nature. Most people do want to focus on the negatives instead of the positives. It's only how humans evolved, so it's common for them to think only that. The second thing is for the technology. The way that we have advanced is more and further, obviously, than any other generation, but it's also at a faster rate too. So these advancements that we have, that we use, they make older generations tell us to get off our snapping and chatting devices and have a real face-to-face conversation. They think that we can't have a real communication because everything we do is sent over text. But that's wrong. We can, and we do. We do it every day. We just don't do it as much as our elders do. So many people who are in the older generations think that we're disrespectful because we don't make eye contact with them if we're having a conversation, but we're also on our phone. That's not the case. We're just multitasking. We're a generation that has everything at our fingertips. So we obviously want to connect to everything. In one article, he states that our generation is able to influence more than any other generation because of all the connections that we have. So the good part of my generation, the kind that isn't lazy and wants to do good, hard-working things, decides to use that influence for good and spread the good around the world. So we use that to spread that good all over so that other people can experience it too. the education that we have is actually, we have more people going to college now than ever before. Daha Afumi actually states in his article that we have the most kids going to college right now than any other generation in the whole world, or ever like in time. So we're actually not the smartest, but we just have better access to the higher education. And so we use that to our advantage. Nothing about that makes us entitled that we want to use that for like us, and so we can better the world. She's right, like technology is what's making us good, and it's what's making us like better and further than all the other generations. So, in conclusion, there are good and there are bad to our generation. It just depends on which you decide to look at, and if you want to focus on the negatives instead of the positives. Thank you.
So that concludes the high school portion of this speech competition.
Cool. Let's give him a snap. Let's give him a snap.
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 Sophistication.
Yes, sophistication. There.
So what I like about this,
Yeah, you messed up, don't you?
I did. I'm not smart.
Yeah, you just pulled Steve Harvey. Yeah.
You can handle the rest. I'm just gonna go and
Yeah.
stand off to the side.
Hang your head in shame, boy. Hang your head in shame. Hang your head.
What was your idea, Bunkos?
I know it was. Wow, this is awkward. A little awkward without my battle buddy up here. A little lonely too. How's everybody doing tonight? Good? Y'all travel far to come here?
You sent me off the stage.
Fine. I'll get off the stage. Alright, I think he's ready. Alright, our fourth and final speaker in the high school division is Cadet Nam Bong.
Hello? Can you guys hear me? Yeah. Well, good evening, guys. My name is Nam Vong. I'm a fourth classman, and I hope that you guys enjoy my speech today. So let me start out. I'm sorry. So let me just start out like this. My generation, Generation Z, or as many others call us, the Centennials, and of course, the Millennials, we have way too frequently been denoted as an entitled generation by our predecessors, by those who came before us. And today, as a child born in 2002, I will be speaking not only on behalf of my fellow Centennials, but I will also be speaking on behalf of the Millennials, a generation I can very well identify with. So according to those who came before us, our predecessor, entitlement is one of the most alarming problems for our generation. So alarming that it will cause severe consequences not only to us, but to the world and to future generations. So according to our dictionary definition of entitlement, entitlement means the feeling that you deserve something, the feeling that you have the right to something. And as in the sense that we are being criticized with, entitlement means we're taking everything for granted. We think we deserve everything that is there for us. And this, of course, comes with a collective sense of laziness and a sense that we take everything for granted. So let's just look at what might have caused this problem. According to a research from a group of professors from Cambridge University, this feeling of entitlement often comes from a feeling of unfairness. So when a person feels something is unfair to them, they would feel that I deserve to be treated better than this. And that usually that is where the entitlement comes from. And from there, things just get worse because people would think that they deserve a lot of things. And of course, these people, many of the times, they're at fault because they don't have the initiative to break away from this laziness, break away and appreciate things that they're being given to them. But once again, we cannot rule out the fault of parenting. Even though it is these people, it is their own fault. But they were raised that way. They were raised like kings and queens. Their parents spoiled them. Whenever they want something, their parents, yeah, you can have it. And that is what cost a lot of people, I can say right now, I would call them the leeches of society, because there would be people who just came out of school and expect a job, and once they landed a job as a junior employee who had never had any experience in work, they would come in and demand outrageous salary while only have to work 5 hours, or demanding flexible hours, or demanding immediate promotion, even though they have never put any work into it. And even more outrageous, a problem that is even closer to my heart, are those students who have their parents pay their way into college. And by paying their way into college, I mean having their parents bribe officials, faking their activities, or having their SAT, ACT scores fixed so they can get into good universities. These people would grow into what I would call the leeches of society. They're sucking out the wealthiness of what it should be. So, but we are too familiar with all the cons of this entitlement. But these leeches, they're not what our generation is about. Let me just tell you about some of the good things about this entitlement tag that we are being placed upon. Let me just give you some of the real representatives of our generation. Malala Yousafzai, a millennial born in Pakistan. She was raised not being educated, and she was treated horribly because she was a woman in a country such as Pakistan. Because she was entitled, she felt that she deserved to be treated better. She deserved actual rights. So she stood up, and she became one of the most outspoken activists for human rights, for women's rights, and of course for education. Or Evan Spiegel, because he was too lazy to simply post something on Facebook. So he created Snapchat. A much more better, a much more fun way to do it. And not only with Snapchat, not only did he disrupt a multi-billionaire industry, he changed the world in many ways. Because this world, as we know it, this world we're living in runs on social media. And he did all that just because he was lazy, just because he was entitled. Or Ruppert-Burton Prasad, the incredible mind behind Alexa, Amazon Alexa, one of the best artificial intelligence that is available today. Because he was too lazy to simply do simple tasks like setting the alarm, turning the music on, or dimming the lights in his house, that he had to create an artificial intelligence to do it for him, just because he was lazy. As Bill Gates would say, that he would only hire lazy people, because lazy people are the only one who can find the easy way to do it. Our generation is run on this entitlement. Our generation is run on this laziness. Because what do we strive for the world? We strive for the world to be an easier place. We strive for it to be a quicker place. And we strive for it to be a more efficient place. Let me ask you a question. Would you call those people I just mentioned entitled in any way? Of course not. Of course not. And yet, the generation that are full of those young, talented, those Evans, those Malala, those Rahib, the generation that are full of those people are considered an entitled generation. How is that justifiable? How is that justifiable that you take the image of the leeches that I mentioned and you make it the image of an entire talented generation, but not the image of these talented young men and women? How is that justifiable? It is not. As a generation, we came into this world as one of the most electrifying. We came into this world as one of the most exciting. We came into this world as one of the most stimulating generation the world has ever seen. Just as any other generation, we tend to rebel to what our parents, our grandparents teach us. That is just a normal human process. And once again, because we think differently, our predecessors think we are entitled. We are not entitled. You can mock us all you want. You can call us centennial this, centennial that, millennial this, millennial that. But mark my word. As a generation, we are anything. We are anything but entitled. And in conclusion, just as Lin-Manuel Miranda would put it in his famous song from the Broadway play Hamilton, a single sentence that I think would perfectly describe our generation. And you were just like our country, we're young, scrappy, and hungry, and we're not throwing away our shot. Thank you.
Neither can I, but I like Hamilton, so cool. All right, I think high school deserves a wave. You know, they did real good. So let's start on this side over here, Mr. Dorsey. All right, you go ahead, Mr. Dorsey. You start whenever you want. All right.
Hey, let's go. Keep it going.
Keep it going. Keep it going. Now bring it back.
Bring it back this way. One more time. Bring it back.
I think that last wave hit a rock.
Yeah. Well, now we're going to move on to the college portion.
You sure about that?
Yeah, I'm tracking it. Okay, I got you. A little hiccup in there. Apologies. But yeah, this is the college portion. And so without further ado, I'm going to introduce the first speaker, Roger Carter. Talk about college. Talk about college for a minute?
Yeah, let's talk about college. Just some time. Yeah, it's kind of like high school, just stressful.
Stressful.
And you got someone telling you when you can go to bed, and when you do your homework, and when you get to read. I'm losing my cool, man. I can't do it anymore.
We're going to be leaving soon, bud.
Are we?
We're going to be leaving soon, bud. Lights at the end of the tunnel.
I don't think it is.
It's there. It's there, bud. Okay. I think we're going to go now.
Come on, Roger, let's go.
Without further ado, Roger Charcon, come on, bud, let's go.
Can y'all hear me? Oh, wow. Good evening, everyone. How is everybody doing? I'm having a conversation because I'm nervous, but not really. I didn't say that. So disregard that. So, in order to overcome the stereotype of an entitled generation, we must first start to value and appreciate the education we have here in the United States. Secondly, we have many international students and immigrants that flock to this country because of how many blessings we have today. Think about the opportunities we have to get scholarships through sports, through getting good grades in school, and overall just working hard. We can work hard to get where we want to be. Also, we have a lot of opportunities for different things. We have trade schools, we have colleges, and college is one of the main ways that we can prove that we are not an entitled generation. We have the ability to put in hard work to get where we want in life. Moreover, we're able to actually I just think we're great. No, okay, that's not it. The previous generation, I guess, worked really hard. It was viewed as a privilege instead of a right. I think people have kind of come to just kind of accept the rights they have today. They're born with them, so it's not something that they've had to fight for or have had to die for, or have had any of those experiences. But I think, to be honest, we can be great. We have to believe first that there's hard work that goes into being in college. It's a full-time job just trying to pay for it. I mean, it's super expensive. It's not saying that college is easy or that it's inexpensive at all. It's a hard toll, and I think those toils that are integrated in the college experience is what makes us a great generation. And it's what makes us not entitled. It's what proves that we actually have the work ethic to get through what we have to get through to be where we want to be in life. There's something to be said about people that get a college degree. People that are graduating this year, that's a great accomplishment. That's something that you can say to everybody and kind of not brag about it, but it's something that, it's really loud, sorry. Something that you can kind of pass on to your next generation and make that generation better. I think we're improving. I think we're entitled. But I think through just being able to look at our previous generation, see how hard they worked, that we can carry that on through our generation, and then to the next one after that. So I also wanted to touch on how people kind of chase after happiness instead of dreams. Chasing after happiness can be kind of tiring. It's something that where we chase after it and we're not fulfilled. We keep searching for it. We'll go to a different place. We'll change, our routines. We'll change something like that. But in reality, what we need to be chasing is our dreams. The importance of dreams starts with, I think, for me, Martin Luther King Jr. He was very influential. He believed in his dreams, and that's why we have basic human rights today. If it wasn't for his dream, if it wasn't for him ignoring the naysayers, then we would not have the land of the free and the home of the brave. I think that's important for all of us to understand, is that we all have dreams here. I think if we stick to those dreams, we can actually find the happiness and the joy and the pleasure we have in life. So as long as we stick to those dreams and we overcome obstacles through hard work and believing in those dreams and always seeking help from other people, I think we can be successful and overcome the title of an entitled generation. That's all I got.
Yeah, so where's the rest of y'all's bow ties at? I mean, y'all are a little underdressed, ain't you? I mean, we came out here wearing our finest. We were trying to look sexy for one another. These y'all could don't look, sexy for one another down there, right?
Yeah, I believe so. Oh, who was it?
That's right. You can come up here later, Lopez. I like you. Me and you, Lopez. Thank you.
You got the snap.
I know.
It is. Work fast.
Work real fast.
Well, actually, I think I like your uniform better. It's a little more...
Less hot.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm burning up in a freaking oven again. I'm burning. It hurts.
Yeah. I saw it back there. You kind of like,
Yeah, sweaty.
sweating a little bit. It was a little weird.
Yeah, it's like I just got off the APFT.
Yeah. Rough.
Rough.
Rough times.
Alright. So, now our next lovely speaker is going to be Kayla Cisneros.
Good evening, guys. I'd really like to start off my presentation by asking you all one specific question. Can any of you in here define entitlement like a dictionary definition? Okay. Well, Webster defines entitlement as a person who is deserving of a special privilege. Now, I don't know about you guys, but that definitely does not describe Generation Z, which would be the majority of this audience right here. Now, most of the time, when people think of an entitled generation, they don't think about the mistakes their elders made before them that they now have to follow. They don't think about the technological evolution that we have been so fortunate to come across, and they do not think about the criticism we face daily. First off, I'd like to talk about those elder mistakes. Now, most of us here probably had one or two role models in our lives that have really helped us find who we are and lead us onto the right path. Those role models have taught us the right way, but also on that same path, you have come across those people who have not led you the right way. They have led you to think negative ways. They have taught you the wrong way, and those are the ones that have made you feel entitled. Those are also the same people who tell you to get off your phones, that you're texting too much, or that you're spending too much time on the internet, or that you're not researching enough. They're also criticizing you and telling you that you are entitled, you're special, you have all these privileges that once in a blue moon, we didn't have those, or back when I was your age, we didn't have the access to the internet that you have. We didn't have the fortunate ways of driving cars all the time. Most of us had to work really hard for where we are. But that doesn't change the fact that all of us in here have had to work really hard too. I mean, a good example would just be being a cadet at the Institute. Most of us have been pulled away from the freedoms of everyday life. You know, you high schoolers in here, most of you guys haven't gotten to experience a lot of things that average kids your age might have. You know, you are in a step path every single day. And for us who've chosen to come here for college, it's also been the same. We don't get those different kinds of experiences you might get as a freshman or a sophomore in college. But with our teachers and our coaches that criticize us daily, that is what makes us better. That is what has turned us into not an entitled generation, but a fortunate one. We have that access to the internet. We have the access to going to a great school like this. We have access to good teachers with good educational experiences that are making us good people of society. Now, along with the technological evolution, which I will not fault anyone in here for that, we all tend to abuse at some time in our lives, especially this one right now. I mean, I don't know about you guys, but it's coming pretty close to graduation, and all I can think about right now is summertime. I just want to leave, I want to be done, but at the same time, we all know that we have finals coming up, we have assignments due, we have things that we have to accomplish, and without our teachers that criticize us daily and take us on the right path and make us focus, we wouldn't be able to finish the school year strong. Now, our elders, we owe a lot to the elders that teach us and make us better people, but at the same time, we are constantly judged. You know, we do not always like hearing, back in the day, things were easier when we did like this. Well, with all the technological advances that we have today, why is going back to the old way more efficient? It's not. With the people that have made all these technological advances, like computers, cell phones, social media, that is what is making our generation advance further in education, medical-wise, just about everything you can think of. Now, I'd like to end my presentation with just a few words of wisdom. Be thankful for living in the generation that you have right now, whether you were a Generation X, whether you were a baby boomer, whether you are part of the I generation. Be thankful for the things that you have, and who cares if you're called entitled? Be thankful and be fortunate, and just enjoy the things that are making you a successful person today. Thank you for your time.
So, there's somebody special in the audience I would like to recognize here before we move on to the last speaker. I know him a lot, so I asked Bloomquist here if he could take I think it's like a 2-day online course.
Yeah, it's pretty easy.
In translations.
Yeah.
And he's already staring at me.
Yeah.
Cadet Major Lopez.
Go ahead and get up, buddy. Yeah.
Can you stand up, please, for the audience? I just need you to stand up really quick so they can see your beautiful face.
There he is.
So, as I was saying with, I asked Bloomquist this a couple days ago if we could take this 2-day
I took it, man.
translation course.
I took it, and I passed it with flying colors.
Passed it with flying colors.
Flying Lopez colors.
So, it's a translation course for Major Lopez.
Just show him.
Okay, we'll show. Yeah. You want to do it actually? You want to come up here and do it?
No. Say.
No, we'll just go to you, Lopez. Don't worry. I got you. I'll move.
Get up there.
I'll move to you, Lopez.
Yeah, Lopez.
So he took a really, really in-depth online course. I just want you to say for me. What?
Who?
Yeah.
Yeah? I just said it.
No. You have to do it so he can hear. He wasn't ready for that.
I'm bald and I love it.
He has a couple other ones, a couple other translations, if you don't mind just doing it one more time.
No. He knows how to say it.
You sure?
Figure it out. What else? You do it.
I gotta do it? You want me to do it? I can't do it as well. I can't do it as well as you, Lopez. No, I didn't take one.
You do it, Trey. You just do one more.
I can't do it. I can't do it as well as he can. I'm trying my best.
I love you guys. Something like that, right, Bob? No?
We'll find you later.
Come and get me.
Pass or flying colors, right? There we go.
Guys with flying colors.
You know, guys, you may not know this, but Lopez actually cares for a lot of people. He has a really big heart. Very, very big.
Yeah, Pat Lopez. Third and final speaker in the Ruppert College Division is Cadet Harrison Yu. Come on, Harrison.
Is this thing on? Sorry, I just gotta double check. Just to make sure. All right. So, millennials aren't buying cars. They don't want to drive. They don't want to own these cars. They don't want these inconvenience. This is a quote by an American businessman that shows how the society perceives the millennials. Hello, everyone. My name is Harrison Yu. Today, I'll be talking about some stereotypes of this entitled generation and how to overcome them. See, a wise man once said, "You are your worst enemy." So stay tuned to find out more about this generation and be a better version of yourself. All right, now, after countless hours of research, hear me out. So, according to multiple surveys, laziness, entitlement, self-absorbedness, this is the common words that describe our stereotype, the stereotype of millennials. Or people that are born between 1980s to 2000, basically all of y'all. See, other common stereotypes includes narcissism, impatient, lack of dedication, and such. However, none of them are enough fixable. So in order to overcome, to get rid of this label that is put into us by the older generation, I believe that parents ought to be stricter. I believe that our communication skills ought to be stronger. And that a system of faith ought to be developed. And through these 3 points, we will be able to overcome our stereotypes. So now, as the American Weekly magazine concluded, parentings are blamed highly for our generation being spoiled. Studies have shown that millennials are raised by parents who will do whatever to please their kids. See, with this, it is because of this unconditional love that kids are entitled, right? And specifically, especially since these kids have been experiencing this kind of love before they can even properly think, they will misunderstand it as everything comes easy, and they will take everything as granted. So, for example, if a kid can express himself whatever and whenever they want to his parents, they will feel entitled. Or if a kid is being paid to do house chores, the simplest house chores, they will expect a faster promotion, a better lifestyle, easier lifestyle when they grow up. So, as that being said, I believe that parents should be stricter to their kids. And seriously, think about it. Why do the millennials think that it is their parents' responsibility to clean their room, to make the dinners, and afterwards clean the dishes? It is because parents are willingly wanting to do this. They want their kids to have a better life. They want their kids to live more comfortably. Now imagine this. If a kid, after he's 8 or 9, when he's kind of able to take care of himself, the parents put in like little house chores in their lifestyle, as time moves on, they will think that it is their responsibility to keep the house clean. They will think that it is their responsibility to keep everything organized, and thus not become entitled. See, I'm not saying parents should not love their kids, but I'm saying they should not give everything too easily. Let them earn it, not just give it to them. See, with all that being said, I believe that when parents are more strict to their kids, when parents enforce more rules on their kids, we will be able to eliminate entitlement from our name. And moreover, when kids are experiencing responsibility in a young age, they won't be lazy when they grow up. Right? I'm not saying everyone is the same. In fact, a lot of people have experienced responsibility in a young age. A lot of people is not entitled. They're humble, they're polite. But if they cannot express themselves correctly, they're just viewed as the same people. So this brings me to my second point, communication skills. See, for example, if a kid who's really humble, who's polite, who's respectful, the best kid ever, right? He's trying to ask something. But he didn't use please or thank you, something like that. Or he, instead of those, he expressed himself somewhat aggressively. He will be viewed as entitled. This is the reputation he gives. So expressing yourself is very important to overcome the stereotype. In addition to that, studies have shown that millennials get easily triggered when being asked to do something. But see, when you express a trigger, it's more like verbally and non-verbally, and it expresses a negative attitude. See, attitude is everything. And because of this negative attitude you express, people are going to view you as entitled. So in this kind of situation, why don't we sit back, relax, and really think about it? Why don't we approach them with a correct and proper, approach them correctly and properly, let them know what you actually are saying. Express yourself the right way. More importantly, a little humility, pleasantness, and collaboration will help a long way in overcoming the stereotypes. So with all that being said, communication is very important when it comes to expressing yourself correctly. Now, faith is a must. See, faith is what keeps people humble and therefore teachable. We are viewed as self-centered. We're viewed as self-employed. But with faith, we're able to get out of ourselves and join a community. With faith, we're able to acknowledge that there's a greater power, that we're not so self-centered. And with faith, we're able to erase selfishness and self-centered from our name, from our stereotype. And with faith, we can make the impossible possible. Now, in conclusion, see, millennials are viewed as someone that are very lazy. They're viewed as someone that is entitled. They're viewed as someone that is very self-centered and self-absorbed. But with the three things that I said, through the 3 points, we are able to overcome our stereotype. We are able to show the world, to show all generations that we are capable, that we are the best. And we will prove to the world that we are the best. Thank you.
All right, that concludes the college division. Let's give a sophisticated round of applause for all the contestants. A round of snaps. So there's one more speaker that I would like to bring up here. Although this is an unscripted speech, it comes from the heart. Yeah, y'all judges can sit back and relax and watch y'all way too busy right there.
And so I'd like to bring up Cadet Phillips.
Yeah, Claire.
Ladies and gentlemen, oh my God, ladies and gentlemen. Did y'all just witness what we just saw? I didn't come up here with a speech, written, whatever, but during the speech I was amazed because, these 7 kids right here have so much potential and so much leadership, so much goals for themselves. And not just that, but what inspired me the most out of all these guys, that just what they can do for others, And at the end of the day, it's bigger than us. That's how it is. That's how this life is, nowadays. It's bigger than us. And wow. Just how many high schools? 4 or 3 high schools? 4 high schools. People that's younger than half of us in here that can do what they just did and just be themselves in front of unknown people is truly amazing. And then on top of that, we all learning something new. And I think it's just amazing, man. Like, you guys have such a big platform and everything, and you guys have women, and we all just witnessed something great tonight. Like, this is Monday night, but it's like a Monday night show. I'm not gonna lie to y'all, but I'm not even gonna lie. But y'all, 7 of y'all guys are here. I know this is a competition. I know it's a competition. I know somebody has to win. But y'all all did so great tonight. No matter what, y'all all won me. And y'all should be proud of yourselves, each and every one of y'all. Especially my 2 in Alpha Game days. Y'all should be proud, man. And I want everybody else in here to be proud of them because what they did was just amazing. It's encouraging. It's bright. And come on, most of these, probably all of these guys right here we're gonna look up to these guys someday. We're gonna see these guys on TV, doing something big because they started off here. And hey man, nothing to salute, none of y'all.
Well, I think we're at the end. That guy over there still asleep, so hope he enjoys his rest. That's okay. Well,
We have to bring back up the dude who did that.
the pledge. Right. All right, Colonel Martinez is coming back up, everybody. Give him a round of applause.
Hey, I want to thank all y'all for coming. Let's give our speakers and our judges one more round of applause. I completely caught the MCs off guard because this wasn't scripted, but I'd actually like to call all the speakers and the judges up to the stage if they don't mind.
Let's see.
First off, I would like to thank the judges for taking time out of their busy schedules to actually come down here, spend time with us cadets, and grade our public speakers over here. And I want to appreciate them. I want to present them with RC, Chip. Lastly, I would like to thank our speakers. Public speaking is definitely not easy. It's something I had to learn, especially at the beginning of the year. Y'all don't know, when I did my speech in front of the parents and stuff like that before y'all matriculated, I was extremely nervous. Like literally, I was standing there like shaking. So they did great, fantastic, and I'm super proud of them. So please give them one last round of applause.